In Rivers State, there are reports of sporadic shooting and clashes between suspected hoodlums and the army. The incident, which resulted to a couple of casualties, forced the army to make further redeployment to beef up security in Abonema and Idoni local government areas, among others. In the meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it will announce a new date to conduct the National Assembly elections in some areas in Boni local government area of Rivers State. Our correspondent Emmanuel Lirey also reports on the governor's activity today.
It is a long day for elections in Rivers State. Some delays are seen in some polling centers due to late arrival of materials. In the capital city of Port Harcourt, voting is largely peaceful. Unit 7, Ward 9 in Obiakpor local government area of the state is a case in point, where the governor was seen casting his vote. He has mixed feelings about the conduct of the polls.
From the reports I'm getting from the field, which I've said before, it's unfortunate that our military would descend so low. We used to complain about the police, but today we have seen that it is not the military. But by and large, I think INEC is prepared, and apart from the military intervention, I think things are moving on smoothly.
Some voters also have some things to say about the process.
The election has been very peaceful. The processes are based on INEC rules and guidelines, and they can say the place is very peaceful. There is no cause for alarm. Voting started early and is going on peacefully.
While the exercise can be largely described as peaceful in Port Harcourt, the state capital, there was trouble, especially in riverine communities of the states of Abonima, Okrika, Andoni, and Boni, where there were reports of alleged security intimidation and violence, with deaths also on the paper. Meanwhile, Abonima in Akukutoro local government area seems like a theater of war. Shootouts between soldiers and suspected hoodlums reportedly leaves some dead, although the police confirms the death of one soldier with several others sustaining gunshot injuries. Some party members say more could have been killed. Boni, Andoni, or Krika are their story of alleged security intimidation and some deaths. Although INEC is yet to give a final report on the event of the day, as the polls wind down and the results begin to trickle in, many will be putting question marks on the credibility of the process, as well as opening up new talking points on the way forward. Emmanuel Lirey, Channels Television News.
One person has been reported dead, 2 others injured in a shooting spree that occurred in Ibadan's southeast local government area of Oyo State. There was also violence recorded in Bayelsa State, where a photographer attached to the state government is feared to have been among those killed. Our correspondent Oyo examines the violence in both states.
Wasiu Amusa is distraught. His 25-year-old son has been shot. All because he wanted to exercise his civic right and vote on election day in Ibadan, Oyo State. This INEC official gives an eyewitness account of what transpired.
Everybody have casted their vote. So that is, we were counting senatorial vote. So I just start hearing gunshots. So that's why everybody just left.
Sympathizers throng the home of the deceased. His mother and other family members are disconsolate. Violence was also reported in Bayelsa State, where a photographer attached to the state government is reported to have been shot. Other skirmishes were also reported, which also recorded fatalities. How can politics be conducted in a manner that does not end in deaths? How can security agencies control thugs from wreaking havoc? These are questions the authorities have to deal with when they go back to the drawing board. But at the moment, families are counting their losses over an exercise that promised to guarantee their safety. Orolu Ashonibare, Channels Television News.
More reactions are trailing today's election off and the conductor by the umpire INEC. This time, the leader of the ruling All Progressives Congress and former Lagos State Governor Bola Tinubu has praised INEC for what he describes as a smooth exercise and resilience in Nigerians. When Mr. Tinubu was asked about allegations from the opposition party of plans by his party to rig the election, owing to pictures of bullion vans at his home in Ikoyi, the APC leader said he had no plans to buy votes and denies the pictures which surfaced online.
Democracy is not the easiest process to manage. It's not the easiest system to maintain. But with resilience and strong determination, we are getting there and we are making progress.
No. There are allegations that your party are planning to rig this election. For example, there are pictures online at the surface, bullion vans coming out of your premises.
Bullion vans. Are those ballot papers? Where am I voting now? Where am I voting?
The allegations are that those bullion vans carry money or ballot.
Excuse me. Is it my money or government money? I don't work for government. I'm not in agency of government. And let anybody come out to say I've taken any contract from the government of President Muhammad Buhari, APC, in the last 5 years. They should prove it. I'm on my own. And I'm committed to my party. So, even if I have money to spend in my premises, what's your headache?
Voting was largely peaceful in many parts of Lagos State despite the late deployment of voting materials to most of the polling centers. Our correspondents capture the process in Nigeria's commercial nerve center.
Last week's postponement of the election may have tested the will and resilience of some Nigerians. But today in Ikorodu, a lot of the voters have turned out despite all of the issues that happened earlier in the day, where in some areas the electoral materials were not deployed at the appropriate time. Here in Ward 026 in under Greek, I have seen a physically challenged man who has come to cast his ballot.
My name is Abdulgani Mustafa, 49 years of age. So, what I see this processing is what we can use to change our future and what we can use to make Nigeria a better state for us.
Away from Ikorodu, these are frustrated residents of Olanrewaju Street in Amuwo Dofin local government area. According to them, they got out as early as 8 a.m. for the exercise, but INEC officials did not show up until 11 a.m.
Problem is, ever since morning we've been here. They came very late, yes, but ever since they came, if they had started, things would have gone okay. But ever since they said there was no network, but now that the people are agitating, now the network came suddenly. Why will it be so?
Over in Etiosa area of the state, most of the centers witnessed an organized exercise.
It's like Rome was not built in a day. So we have absolute confidence in the country called Nigeria. And we're going to stay here, build it.
After the voting, which ended at different times depending on when voting started at each polling station, sorting and counting follow. It will take more hours for the collation of these results, not just in Lagos, but all over the country, before INEC announced the final results. From Lagos, Yomi Otaigbe, Channels Television News.
With our correspondent Gloria Omezoke, who's in the Situation Room, we understand she has updates on what's going on there. Hi, Gloria. What's going on?
Well, thank you, Amarachi. I have with me the convener of the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room, Mr. Clement Nwakwo. Thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you.
Well, it's been a long day. Voting, observations and reports. What is your general impression of what has been happening so far?
Well, very impressive, the turnout. People anxious to come out, cast their votes. Disappointing that a lot of people who turned out to cast their votes were not able to do so. Complaints here and there, but certainly I think we've seen a lot of people come out to cast their votes. At this stage, of course, some counting has started in the polling units. A lot of counting has been completed. We should already be seeing ward collation process in place, and this has begun to happen in some places. In some places, it has also been postponed because of course, logistics issues. There's a whole
Do you know?
quite a lot because at this stage of usually begins collect the results. We have received a moved from the war to the local governments amid some complaints from political parties who have been following the process, and in some places it has actually been suspended, obviously because it's dark and too dangerous to continue to do any actions at this time of the day.
The Situation Room reported about 16 deaths. Are you surprised about this?
I think it's been a tense political environment. The campaigns and the rhetorics have been sometimes very harsh, and we have seen that this has led to the violence that we have seen already. And when we released that report, it was sometime in the late afternoon. The numbers of incidents have increased, and reports, particularly from Rivers State, is worrying. And we need to keep an eye on what's going on in Rivers State. But certainly quite worrying that you have this level of violence in elections that shouldn't really. Also complaints from Lagos about violence in areas in ways that raises a whole lot of other issues about the country. So I really think that this election should not come with so much anxiety and so much tension, and elections in Nigeria should never really be conducted with this much tension and violence around it.
Well, in all of this, I mean, we heard of mayhem being unleashed and all of that. Did you hear of any arrests or prosecution, as the case may be, given that we had a heightened security around many of these areas?
Well, we did hear of some arrests in Imo State, for instance, which election didn't go too well because some of the election officials were accused of actually holding back voting. One of the electoral officers in one of the areas was arrested on the instruction of INEC itself because of obvious attempt to disrupt the electoral process.
I guess we're out of time. Thank you very much, Mr. Clement Nwakwo, the convener of the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room. We're still keeping tabs here in Abuja. We'll bring you more details as it unfolds.